Alright, hello everybody, it's Big Deku bringing you another Predecessor video. Today I'm gonna be doing like a review for Predecessor and also talk about Overprime since the servers are closing down on April 22nd. Um, and so I'm gonna be talking about Overprime a little bit as well. But let me just say that the video you're watching is an old video from patch 16 where I tried to play Iggy Jungle. It was late at night, so I didn't record it officially. So this is from recording the what's it called again? The replay match system that Predecessor has. Uh, but yeah, Iggy Jungle is possible. It just requires more testing. Requires more testing, more uh, understanding of jungle clearing. I did start off with my R&B, but I should have probably started with my turrets since can leash jungles with your turrets. It's a little difficult, but it is doable. But yeah, this was late at night. Also, I knew that we were gonna win because all the players were new. I could tell from their names; they didn't have any proficiency banners or none anything like that. So it was clear to me that they were new players, and so it was gonna be easier for me to try. But Iggy Jungle is definitely a is a is a character, or it's a playstyle that requires great communication with your teammates, or you have to have a dual stack with you to uh, help you in the late game. But besides that, I won't be talking about Overprime first, since the game is closed. Like I said, it's closing down its servers on April 22nd. And that's like within a day or two of this video being posted. And yeah, let's get into it. So now, I'll be talking about Overprime, and there was when it first came out, I first started playing Predecessor in December of 2022, and I liked Predecessor. It felt great, but I only had two issues with it, and that was the movement speed and the ping system. I don't like the ping system on Pred, and when I was playing with characters, it just felt very sluggish, very slow, and it was kind of frustrating to move around with these characters in early Predecessor. But as soon as I tried Overprime, it literally fixed these two issues immediately with its sprint mode and its unique, well, not unique, but its ping system. It has the ping wheel, and you can open your scoreboard, and the scoreboard doesn't cover the whole map like Predecessor does, your whole screen, I mean, and you can click a mini map basically and ping on that mini map, and you'll have more precise pings throughout the map, allowing you to alert your allies in specific areas, not just letting them know that your enemies are missing in your lanes, or if objectives are up, you have more precision in pinging. So I like that in Overprime. I will say that comparing the two, Overprime just had a more unique take in the Paragon moba space. It innovated a lot compared to Predecessor. Paragon changed its objectives. It made unique animations to the objectives. It had a unique map layout. Also, it's the aesthetic of the whole game look very polished, a lot more nicer than Predecessor. Although I will say that Predecessor saturation is a lot lower, or it's a little more easier to look at in Predecessor. In Overprime, it's a lot more brighter, more colorful. but I still prefer that type of colorization in OVERPRIME than in Predecessor. Although I will say that now Predecessor does look a little nicer. They did change the lighting and the colorization of the whole map layout, but before that, OVERPRIME looked a lot nicer in my opinion. Alongside with that, it also had unique skins. OVERPRIME just knew how to make skins. They know how to, be creative with their skins, and that's what I liked about OVERPRIME. Right now, there's not many unique skins for Predecessor, or at least skins that I would want to buy. I think I have about 20 skins in Paragon, the OVERPRIME, over 20 skins, unique skins. Almost every hero in OVERPRIME I bought a skin for, even the ones I barely play, just because they look cool. But yeah, OVERPRIME just had better design development, in my opinion. But that's not to say that it was a well-made game. That's not to say that OVERPRIME is a lot better than Predecessor. I would say that OVERPRIME was just more unique compared to Predecessor development. But with that being said, OVERPRIME had a lot of bad sides to it. One of them being in the early stages of development, it didn't have a well starter item. Most MOBAs have unique starter items that you either buy or you gain in the beginning, based on your role maybe. OVERPRIME had gems in the start of its development, and these gems you could buy, and it would give you different buffs in the early stage, and then you can upgrade them by buying the upgraded tiers into the later game. So basically you will have to waste gold in order to upgrade these gems to give you better benefits. Some of these gems were basically useless, and that was one of the issues early on, is that these items weren't optimal, so everybody would basically go with the same 3 gems basically. There was no reason to have some of these other gems, and it was just taking up space in the item UI. But they did change it later on. They changed these gems into karmas, but with these new changes, they also came with new problems. Some of these karmas were pretty strong, pretty broken. Sometimes it would be unreasonable that some karmas had lower cooldowns than others, and even the strong karmas sometimes had even lower cooldown. So everybody would basically be running the same karmas. There will be no incentive to try out these other karmas. Just run the same OP karmas in every match and you win. You have a higher chance of winning the game. And this was one of the telling signs that the game was not in a very good space, in a very good place in the game development. Some of their decisions were not well thought out, and at the same time they relied too much on player feedback. For example, speaking of karmas, they introduced 2 karmas, I think in the beginning of January or late December, and one did burst damage based on health, and then the other one did burst damage based on max mana. So you can already imagine that these items were pretty strong for characters that build health, and pretty strong for support/caster heroes. And it didn't take long for players to realize how broken these karmas were, and experienced players tested these karmas out immediately, as they came out, they recorded their gameplay and they sent it to devs and told them, hey, these two karmas are broken. And instead of deciding to change, maybe nerf these karmas and keep them in the game and work with these karmas, they asked the player base to say, hey, do you want these karmas in the game or not? And the whole player base said, no, get rid of these karmas, they're too broken, they're useless, or you know, kind of pressuring these devs into deleting, or at least to take back their decision, their development decision. They could have instead worked on it and, you know, just nerf these karmas, but instead they listened to the player base and they chose to delete these karmas. And this was a telling sign to me that they had no confidence in their development skills and their decision making. And this was, like I said, in the late December, early January of this year, and it was a telling sign to me that they were not gonna make it past this year. And then another issue that arose with them relying on player feedback was the passives. They were gonna introduce hero passives as they were in development. They started off with Rampage and Kalari, since these were technically one of the lower picked characters during that time that the passes were being introduced. And these passes weren't really that broken, but for newer players it was. They felt it was unfair that these characters had passives that nobody else did. And instead of saying, okay, we're working on these other passives, we'll introduce them as the year go on, they decided to just get rid of the passives and say, okay, well, maybe once we're done with all of the passives, we'll release all the passives in one go, which I thought was really dumb, because you already have unbalanced issues with items and hero and karmas, and now you want to introduce passives within, you know, one patch, release all passives. I already could tell that it's not a smart decision in terms of game balancing to release all passives at once. But talking about unbalancing, it just had a very aggressive game flow. It was very team deathmatch game style, and it had a snowballing issue going on where it would be difficult for players to kind of grind levels, get gold into the late game, and in general gameplays, most games will last about 20 to 30 minutes in OVERPRIME, and that was not enough time for people to full build. It wouldn't give them enough time to farm, get enough items, get enough gold to buy the necessary items and get full build. Generally, the only ones that get full build were carries or junglers. These two were the most likely to get full builds, and it will be a snowballing effect, because the more items they have, the easier it is for them to steal farm, to gank, and slow down the enemy even further, which is why there was a 20 to 30 minute gameplay. Not just because the enemy team would snowball, but because it would become frustrating for players to play, and they would just, you know, surrender within 20 minutes. So that was another issue that OVERPRIME had. And because of this frustration, it would create a very toxic environment. A lot of players would not have the mental capacity to try and play it through, so they would immediately surrender. And if nobody surrendered, then they would immediately start typing and ping spamming and becoming immediately toxic within those 20 minutes, which was another issue in Paragon the OVERPRIME, was the player toxicity. It was very toxic, and it was sort of understandable. The game was very frustrating to play. It had that hypertension, that team deathmatch game style, and if you weren't able to farm due to either your allies not rotating with you, or because your allies fed, which is very easy to feed in Paragon the Overprime, you would become frustrated and you would just start ping spamming, start insulting people, and it was just creating a very toxic environment within Paragon the Overprime. And alongside the toxicity, there was also this elite mindset where people relied on their rank to sort of flex their skills, even though they might have not really deserved it, because generally there was a lot of new players in rank, and so if you got lucky and played against newer players, then you will rank up pretty easily. And at the same time, nobody was really playing rank. I think it was generally newer players that were playing rank, and that's why a lot of people were able to rank up. So their matchmaking system in rank was not that great. But with this elitist mindset of rank, it also created toxicity within the community. Paragon the Overprime had a Discord, and within that Discord, they had a mindset of, if you're not within the same rank, then I don't want to play with you. They did try to have, they did had a Discord for looking for a game. You could ask for a game, to play with somebody, but it was mostly people asking for ranks. If you're in gold, then you can play with me, or if you're in silver or platinum or whatever masters, then you can play with me. But since nobody really played rank, then there was no incentive to really play together. Even I barely played rank because it was frustrating to try to rank up due to how easy it was for new players to match up with more experienced players, and nobody really played rank for that reason. And so community within Paragon was not the greatest, in my opinion. But yeah, these are just some of the few issues that I realized from Paragon the Overprime. Another big issue why Paragon the Overprime might have fell was because Netmarble, this company is primarily a mobile gaming company, and so they probably have that mindset of releasing a game as fast as possible and gaining as much money as possible. And probably that also affected the developers, putting a lot of pressure on these developers, and that also might have been a reason why the game failed. But yeah, that's my quick thoughts on Paragon the Overprime and why it might have failed. The servers are closing on April 22nd, so you only have about a day or two to play the game until its servers are shut down, if you want to play Paragon for one last time. But yeah, now on to Predecessor and my thoughts on the game. Alright, so now I'm going to be talking about Predecessor and the state of the game. It was a slow start for Predecessor. I didn't like the way it fell early on. And then having more experience, learning more about the OG Paragon and its development, I feel like Predecessor is lacking in its unique content, or at least it was early on. The reason people say that Predecessor is a closer representation of Paragon is because it literally is. Predecessor has very little unique changes to its playstyle. The major unique changes that it has is the items. OG Paragon had this card system that you use for game, but the developers of Predecessor didn't like that, so they got rid of that card system, and now they have items, which I think is a great change. I think that's one of the only smart changes that they did. But besides that, the game is pretty much the same. They made very little changes to the assets. Even the ping system, which I said was bad, is the same ping system from Paragon, from OG Paragon. If you want to look at RG Ace's YouTube, he has videos of old Paragon, and you can see the ping system right there. it's pretty much the same. So that's one of the issues that I think Predecessor has, is that it hasn't made itself unique. It has made very little changes to the old Paragon assets, and that might affect its outreach to newer players if it feels like an older game. But with that being said, it is starting to look promising for Predecessor. Right now, they made some map changes. They added more color to the map, so it looks a lot nicer. They start to introduce these flowers that are change the map interaction a little bit. It doesn't change the meta, but it's just a lot more fun to be around it in the map. There's unique escapes that you can do, kind of saving yourself from a gank. So far it's looking promising. Even their patch, their future patch 18, introducing that 6 item slot and introducing more unique items is definitely gonna start making the game unique in terms of MOBA development. Like I said, I played Predecessor in December of 2022 when it came out, and it started great. It had great itemization. I love the crest idea. It allowed for great unique gameplays and builds. And I'm a guy who doesn't just like to play meta. I like to make some unique changes, make unique gameplays. But the game has a slow pace. Although I will say I got used to it now. It does feel a little more a little more fluid, a lot nicer to play along with. But the slow pace is really good for beginner MOBA players. It gives them enough time to learn the game a bit, farming, rotating. Gives them time for decision making, whether they want to gank or help with objectives. And the community in Predecessor is actually really great. I was able to join it pretty quickly, and they have a looking for game section in the Discord. And so far, it's really good. You can pretty much join anybody who's looking for a game. They ask for specific roles, and it is starting to get a little bit into that rank mindset, that toxic rank mindset a little bit, where they're asking for people who are in platinum or silver, whatever, because of this Omega City ranking system, which in my opinion sucks. I just started playing the game a couple months ago, and I'm already in platinum. Somehow, I was expecting myself to be maybe gold or silver, but I was already put into platinum, even though I've only played for 2 months after December, a couple months already, and I'm in platinum for some reason. Platinum 1, I should say. So I'm already about to be diamond. So I do think the meta system doesn't really work well for ranks or MMR, and I already see the community starting to build that rank elitist mindset, where if you're not within their rank, they won't play with you. So I think the community has to try to avoid that, and just, if you want to play a game, just play a game. Don't worry about rank. But so far, the community for Predecessor is great. One of the downsides, like I said, is the ping system. I really hate it. I don't feel it's great if you have to create a if you have to build a skill for a ping system. I think that's a bad system overall. I think they should get rid of it, revamp it, change it up, or just go for the usual scroll wheel. Almost every game has a scroll wheel ping system, which is a lot better, operates smoother. I think this their ping system is pretty bad. And like I said, it's a very old ping system. It's from the OG Paragon ping system. So I hope that they change it in the next couple of months. I also hate that the scoreboard is covering the whole map. I think they should change it, make it smaller. Maybe introducing the mini map, kind of like in Paragon the OVERPRIME, might be great, where you can be more precise with your pings. Let your allies know that these are specific areas that a jungler might be rotating or an enemy might be rotating. I think that would work great overall. I guess they're not changing the ping system due to console. Maybe they want to keep it this way because it might be easier for console. But I think, you know, you have League of Legends, you have Apex, who also uses wheel ping systems, and I think that would be great. Or for like emotes, that will also be great as well. But yeah, this is what I think about Predecessors. Not much to talk about. I'm still playing the game. It's been a couple months, so I'm still developing my opinions. But so far, the Predecessor looks promising. I really like the changes that they're doing, and I have high hopes for them. I want them to continue making unique changes, so that the game finally feels like their own, and they're not being compared to OG Paragon anymore. Like I said, most people compare Predecessor to old Paragon because it uses the same assets. They made very little changes, and with these new unique changes, I hope that they're finally making themselves different. They're spreading themselves out, and maybe one day they won't be compared to OG Paragon anymore, and people will look at this as its own game, its own unique game. But yeah, GG. See you in the next one.